104.5 The Team, your home for New York Jets football, which for 1 week we can say proudly. We're joined by Field Yates right now, ESPN NFL insider. Field, before I mean, there's no news in football. There's really nothing to even talk about, right? No controversy at all.
Let's talk hockey.
Hey, it's certainly an unusual week in the NFL, but an important week at that, guys. You know, I think that amongst all the takeaways from Sunday and even Monday night, and really everything that has followed since that time, is that when NFL players band together, they have an incredibly immense power that they can bring to cultural and societal change in the world and in our country. And I was really impressed by the efforts of so many NFL players and so many NFL teams over the weekend.
I don't want to put you on the spot, Field, but is there one team that handled it more to your liking than the others? Not saying it's wrong or right, but more to your liking.
No, you know something, I'm not sure there was a team that I sort of said specifically that's how you should or should not do it. I would say that I have been impressed, and not just under these circumstances, but in general, by the openness and the thoughtfulness of the Seattle Seahawks in addressing issues that are not difficult, that are not easy to address head on. I've always been impressed by what the culture Pete Carroll has cultivated in Seattle, and you could tell that there was immense thought that went into everybody's handling of this situation over the weekend. The Seattle Seahawks, to me, though, are a team that sort of perpetually shows that they are about so much more than just football.
What's the future of this? Was this just an isolated week, or are we going to see more of this for the rest of the season?
No, I think it's going to be more of this for the rest of the season. Maybe not every single week, but I would not be surprised if we continue to see it starting on Thursday night when the Packers host the Chicago Bears. You know, guys, I think that to think that this is an isolated incident that can be resolved, if resolution is even a thing in this matter, is naive. I think it's something that those who care strongly about this matter, and to be honest with you guys, I'm not sure specifically if we can say there's just one matter at hand anymore, right? This is a series of matters and conversations, but anybody who has any level of depth of concern with everything that has taken place surrounding the anthem and the anthem protests and kneelings and teams and how they address the anthem, I think they understand that this is about so much more than just one isolated Sunday. So I would not be surprised if many Sundays going forward, if not every Sunday going forward, we continue to see players or teams address the anthem in a different way than we are accustomed to.
Field Yates with us right now, 104.5 The Team. Okay, let's talk about what happened after the anthem. The Jets look really, really good this week. Jets fans, can they kind of believe in this team moving forward, or is that an anomaly?
Here's what I would say, guys, is that I think it's really important to the NFL to have a direction. I think it's really important to be self-aware enough to know where you are. And the Jets know where they are. They are going to probably finish with one of the 5 worst records in football, which might position them better long-term than finishing with the, let's say 9th or 10th or 12th worst record. At the same time, being bad is not an excuse for not competing. And, I do a radio show on Sundays with Andrew Hawkins, former NFL wide receiver, and he says he always says, those guys get paid too, right? And the Jets are getting paid just like every team they played gets paid. And they are competing, and Todd Bowles is a really good defensive mind, obviously, and it was impressive to see what they did in absolutely manhandling the Miami Dolphins. Now, if I'm Adam Gase, the head coach of the Dolphins, I am looking long and hard in the mirror and at my team and saying, what happened there? But for the Jets, I think that what's going to happen this year is they are going to stick around in games a lot more than people would have ever forecasted them to, and they're going to probably win somewhere between 3 and maybe even 6 of them. And that's okay, because you have to develop a culture of competitiveness and understand that there are some players that need to learn how to win in the NFL. It's not something that just happens overnight.
We're starting to figure out the direction of the New York Jets. Now we have to figure out the direction of the New York Giants. They're 0-3. They play Tampa Bay this Sunday at 4 o'clock. Where do you see this New York Giant team going forward?
Oh, man, it's such a good question, because I was just talking about the direction, and it's like, what is your direction? Well, before the season, you probably said to yourself, okay, this is a team that is equipped to compete this year. I know I'm on record as saying I thought they were going to win one of the 2 NFC wildcards this season and finish 11-5. Now, is it possible? Well, I guess technically it is. Is it likely? I'd say certainly not. If you're the Giants, though, I think you have to not overreact to what's happened in the first 3 weeks and just say that everything is not working, even though there are days where it feels like it. But this defense is still really good in my estimation, guys. The offense has a major problem along the offensive line, And I think what you have to do if you're Ben McAdoo is decide, is there a way to address this offensive line that can actually translate to on-field success? Is it something that extends beyond, reshuffling the deck personnel-wise? Is it subtleties in the way you call the game? Is it, there's been a lot of chatter about, does Ben McAdoo need to relieve himself of play-calling duties to focus on the quote-unquote more head coach tasks? I don't know the answer to that, but I think if I'm the Giants, that you have to live in coach speak now going forward. You can't be thinking about the playoffs. You have to think about what's ahead, because if they go to 0-4 and fall to Tampa Bay this week, that would put them at obviously last place in the division. And if I'm not mistaken, they would have 4 in-conference losses. That right there is just about a death knell to any playoff chances they want to have.
Field Yates with us right now, 104.5 The Team. Your reaction to the now infamous lifting of the leg from Odell Beckham Jr. after the touchdown?
Something, guys, it's complicated. When you see it, right? So, I watch. I'm sure you guys, everybody tries to watch as many games as they can. One of the great parts about working at ESPN is that, you've got every game on the TV. There are, so you have a chance to watch every game to some degree. When I saw Odell Beckham Jr.'s celebration, it was, part of you is like, do you laugh at that? Like, is he being funny? Is he making it a joke? It has since sort of taken on a whole new life. There's some political undertones, et cetera. I think that it's one of those where, unfortunately, sometimes when a message is not clear, it can disrupt the process, period. I just think that, Odell's got to be careful, because if he's costing his team 15 yards, like I can stick to the football side of it for now. And if you're costing your team 15 yards because of careless celebration penalties or other antics on the field, that right there is no space for in the NFL.
So now you've got the Buffalo Bills tied for first place with the New England Patriots in the AFC East. I know it's only 3 games, but can they actually give the Pats a run this year?
I don't think they're going to end up challenging for the division, and I'm pretty sure I've said this on the show before, guys, but I'm so impressed by the job the Bills have done in both building for the future, but also remaining competitive in the meantime. Maybe not competitive to the point where they make the playoffs, but 2-1, and they gave Carolina some fits, at least defensively. They lose that game 9-3, and they probably could have won if there's an on-target throw from Tyrod Taylor to Zay Jones at the last second. But, I was just talking about how in the Jets, you got to learn how to win. You got to find a way to learn how to build that culture. And I think that Sean McDermott and GM Brandon Beane deserve a world of credit for what they've done already in Buffalo. It sure feels like they're on the right track. Now, they've got some talent deficiencies, and I think there's still some who wonder if Tyrod Taylor will be the long-term answer at quarterback for them. But in the meantime, for 2017, really impressed by the way that they have started off.
We're close to 25% of the fantasy football season already done, with usually Week 13 being the last week for regular seasons. And with that time already passed through, we look at Week 4. What players do you love in your lineup this week, and what players would you stay away from starting?
Yeah, it's a fun week, Week 4. So we have a little more of a litmus test, and the rankings are out on ESPN.com. So I always encourage people, hey, if you have like a player versus another player at the same position, go ahead and check there. But players that I love this week, certainly Russell Wilson would be amongst the quarterbacks of note. He's got a very favorable matchup against the Colts, and he obviously is coming off a red-hot performance this past week. A couple of quarterbacks that you're concerned about, Derek Carr because of the matchup, because you're placing the Denver Broncos, which to me is almost always a no-fly zone when it comes to quarterbacks. And then Cam Newton because he hasn't played well. But the Patriots have allowed over 300 passing yards in each of their first 3 games this season. So perhaps Cam can finally get right, because it's been a slow start for him so far this season. Not been great for fantasy, and he has just 47 rushing yards, an atypical total for him through 3 games.
Field Yates with us right now on 104.5 The Team. Get everybody ready for the fantasy football weekend. Any like overwhelming things you've noticed so far this season that have creeped up on you, and you're like, I can't believe this guy's as good as he is, or this guy's been as lackluster?
Yeah, I mean, there certainly have been some disappointments early on in fantasy football. I think that, in real football too, but maybe the story of the year so far in some ways on the field has been rookie running backs. They've been so good, guys. Kareem Hunt has been marvelous for the Chiefs. Leonard Fournette has been great for the Jaguars. You've got Dalvin Cook looking awesome for the Minnesota Vikings. Tariq Cohen and Christian McCaffrey doing great work as pass catchers for the Bears and Panthers respectively. So you've got guys that, we always talk about, do you need to draft the running back in the first round, or do you wait? Because you can find some patient players. You can find guys, if you be patient, you can find guys in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. Well, the answer is both work, because all the first-round running backs have been immediate impact players, and then all the guys that we're talking about besides them, like, fifth round or fourth round for Tariq Cohen. Like, who would have thought that? Kareem Hunt, third round. Like, these guys are making a major impact despite not being on the radar, this past April when the draft time was around.
Yeah, we're in a Death Wish Coffee fantasy football league, and whoever has the high score every week, Field, gets to come on and talk smack. Well, the guy who lucked into Kareem Hunt has won the first 3 weeks, and he has just been dominating us and running his mouth.
Yeah, I can only imagine how good that must feel. And Kareem Hunt's been incredible. I mean, it's going to be crazy. It will not keep up to the tune of, a 50-yard touchdown every single week for Kareem Hunt. But I think he's got a legit shot of being a top 3 fantasy running back the rest of the way. And can you imagine how much of a pivot that would be from his very first carry in his career? He fumbled.
Right.
He fumbled in his very first touch of his NFL career, and then he goes on to what could be an historic rookie season for Kareem Hunt. So hats off to him. And, guys, I'll say this. There are only 2 NFL teams that are undefeated so far in the NFL, 3-0. Very, very, very short list for just 3 weeks into the season. But the Chiefs, to me, are the only team that have given it, an A-plus effort each week so far. I mean, the Falcons are terrific, and they're going to be really good, and I'm so impressed by the roster depth there. But, they were very close to not being 3-0, and one of those losses could have come to the Chicago Bears in Week 1. So I'm so impressed with what Kareem Hunt and Andy Reid and the Chiefs have done to this point.
Field, we're impressed with you. We appreciate you joining us every week, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
All right, guys, looking forward to it.